Now,
So, hello again, and welcome to our Premier League previews. This is Take Debate. I'm Joe McKindo, and he is.
Tim Hiley. I thought you were going to say my name, but
I was leading you in, and then there was a kind of awkward
awkward
silence.
silence. Yeah.
So, if you've just joined us anyway, if you're new to this thing, hello. And
Good evening to you.
yes.
Sorry. Carry on.
And today we're looking at Cardiff. They're new boys of the Premier League, and it's good for Welsh football, let's be honest.
I mean, at the end of the day, we've got 3 Welsh clubs in the Premier League now:
Three.
Cardiff, Swansea, and Gareth Bale FC.
that,
Hey, sorry,
that is
couldn't
very
resist that.
quick. Oh,
Couldn't resist that.
he's on form tonight. Oh, that was
I
quite
am.
good.
I am.
But we will get to Tottenham. But I do agree with you that Tottenham are a bit of a. Well, that's the way they're certainly built, and that's the way Tottenham certainly seem to react. They are a bit of a one-man team. But anyway, it's all about Cardiff.
It's all
This
about. It's all about the Dragons.
it is.
No,
Uh,
no longer the Bluebirds.
just a brief thing. We may as well bring this up now. We don't want to make this a whole half an hour, 45-minute rant, Tim. Yes, you.
Yes,
Uh,
I know.
but I mean, I would be interested to hear what you have to say. I I know what you have to say, but I'd be interested to know for you to let out there for the fans and hear what they think of their rebranding.
I mean, like as you know, I think it's disgraceful.
Mm.
Personally, I think it's to change the club's heritage is just I don't even have the words to express how wrong that is.
Well, it's good that you're not a pundit on a YouTube podcast. Oh no, wait, you are. Oh dear, that's a bit painful. But I think but the problem here is that you've taken a successful club and you've taken a club that has been around for quite some time now. I don't have the details, and you're basically trying to rebrand them in front of the faithful. It's like,
And it's not even in a way that will benefit the team. It's basically to try and appeal to the Asian market and get additional money
I mean,
from various sponsors.
why do you? I mean, they're basically taking a club and getting the proverbial cash cow, and they are milking for all that's worth.
Hmm.
And they've done it. They've done it to give them credit, they've done it at the right time because they've come in, Championship football, started the rebranding process, and it's worked. They're in the Premier League. You
Yep.
know, now they can just sit there with their overseas money, and they're going to milk it. Something chronic.
And the thing is, their decision to rebrand and play in red and whatever has been vindicated.
But I would,
Because
I,
they got promoted, so the owners can turn around and say, "Yeah, you criticised us when we did this, but we're in the Premier League now, so it doesn't matter."
but that's not the point because you've changed the club's identity. That would be like,
Yes, but that's how the owners will see it. They'll see it as,
indeed,
"Oh, we were in the right, we did it." But at the end of the
money,
day,
money, money. Yeah, I know. But the,
it's and like I've said on many occasions to you off air, it's kind of like how far will an owner go? You
mm,
know, if you're willing to change the Bluebirds into the Dragons as their nicknames and change the colour of the shirts and whatever, how long before they change the name of the club? I mean, whole city of doing that in a way by changing it to the whole Tigers or whatever, and it's kind of like,
you're not.
well, it
The difference between that is the difference between
and
Hull
how
for me and Cardiff.
and also how long before we start moving clubs, like they do in America, to more profitable cities.
But if you don't mind, the difference between for me anyway, the difference between me, Cardiff, and Hull is basically what they've done is they've just literally stuck the Tigers on Hull's name, which to be fair is their nickname. What they've done with Cardiff is basically said they've now killed the Bluebird. They don't play in blue. they've completely changed their identity.
Mm.
The only similarity for me is they've got the same players or reasonably similar players. I mean, every squad changes, and they're called Cardiff.
Yeah.
That
Everything else is different, and I don't like that.
I mean, I don't know what the real people that count, because our opinion, because it's not our club, is rather irrelevant if
I mean, we're just talking from
if
an
the fans
outsider's perspective.
if the fans. I mean, I'd love to hear what you guys think from Cardiff's point of view. Do
And
you
whether you
like?
actually think it is worth,
Do you care
losing your
about?
club's heritage at the expense of the Premier League football.
Yeah. Do you care that the Bluebirds are no more, basically?
Bluebird, he does not sing anymore.
But anyway, let's talk football now. We've got that one out of the way. How do you think Cardiff will get on this year?
I think they'll surprise a lot of people. I think that out of the three promoted clubs, I think they've got the best chance of staying up
Well, I
because they've
mean,
got the money to throw at it. I mean, they've already broken their transfer record 3 times this summer. First by signing um, the 20-year-old striker from Copenhagen, Andreas Cornelius, then signing Stephen Colker from Tottenham for 8 million, and then just this Saturday signing Gary Medel for 11 million. So they're obviously having a bit of a statement of intent. The
mm,
problem is, are these players actually any good, or are they just sort of like overpriced
the thing
cat?
about well, I mean, as we've seen from our own personal experience, uh, promoted players, promoted players, and surprise signings. I mean, look at Michu. He
Hmm?
came into the Premier League, took the world by storm, really. Um,
And they do still have a good squad. They have Craig Bellamy, they have Peter Whittingham, Aaron Gunnarsson. You
that's
know,
assume that's of course assuming that Craig Bellamy doesn't do something stupid.
yeah. But no, that I think essentially they've got a good core to their team. And there obviously is still a few more weeks of the transfer window to sign, that marquee signing. I mean, earlier this summer I heard they were linked with Oscar Cardozo of Benfica, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the best strikers, certainly one of the most underrated strikers in the world. I mean, he's fantastic. And if they signed him, that would just be, a fantastic signing for them.
But I think the fact they're in the Premier League is a pretty marquee deal. But as we've seen, I don't think you need to overspend. I think just wise. You need a man, either the manager or director of football, to come in and basically be able to spot talent as
Hmm.
opposed to marquee signings. Uh, I
Yeah, but you do occasionally need that marquee signing to build your squad around. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like uh I guess you could even argue like United signing Van Persie. I mean, that was a marquee signing. And last season their entire squad revolved around Van Persie, and obviously we're not expecting Cardiff to go and sign, Van Persie or a player of that ilk. But if they can get a player that would make every sort of neutral fan sort of sit up and go, "Whoa, that's
It's a
a
pretty
big deal."
impressive deal. But I mean, my hope for Cardiff is that they'll play, some good football and impress in the Premier League.
I mean, I remember from when we played them in the Championship. I still say one of the best players in the Championship that season was Peter Whittingham,
Mm.
and I think he is a really, really good. And I said last summer that we should have tried to sign him, to be honest, because I thought he would just fit in really well with us because he can play in the centre, he can play on the right, he can play on the left, and he's just a really, really good all-round midfielder. And I think he's going to be a real standout player for them in the Premier League this season, I think.
My problem for Cardiff is their goals. Um, and it will be the same for several as well. I mean, I see this for Crystal Palace and for Aston Villa as well, who we've just discussed. But Cardiff, I mean, what is it? Their top goal scorer had 9 goals,
And he retired.
and he's left the club. So here's my theory, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you'll agree with this. Well, you take your goal tally and you can half it in the Premier League, and if it was a decent total, you know, so if you get 30 goals in the Championship, you get 15 goals in the Premier League, roughly speaking. So to me, 4 goals from your top man is not, because you can't get 4.5, is not going to cut the mustard in the Premier League. I'm sorry.
I think I yes, I agree, and also I would also go as far to say that, if your club survives that first season, I think after that season, then all bets are off in terms of, how players do. I mean, for instance, if Crystal Palace stay up this season and Glenn Murray gets, like you say, half the amount of goals he got for Palace last season, so 15, the following season, all bets are off. He could get 20, could get 30, could get 15, could get 10. I think there's always that adjustment season.
Mm.
It's just whether you're around to adjust, sort of
That is
thing,
the beauty of second season syndrome.
Mm.
But
It is a
to get
sink or
us
swim scenario.
to get that happy headache, you've got to make your first season. So,
Yeah.
and to be fair, they've got statistics on their side. And am I right in thinking they walked away with the league?
Yeah, they did in the end.
They
Um,
did. I mean, the statistics are on their side slightly because 6 of the last 9 newly promoted sides stayed up. So,
that is true. That is true.
and I
But I
think
would also, and I predict Cardiff to stay up and finish lower in the table. I've said that all summer. Um, but I would also say that they haven't made. I mean, I think they could have made some really shrewd signings. I mean, Stephen Corker's got Premier League experience with Tottenham. Um, but I
mm,
don't know enough about this Gary Medel or Andreas Cornelius to really make a judgment either way. But they have, across the course of the summer, spent 28 million.
which is a pretty expensive. That's a pretty big wallet, to be fair, for a newly promoted club.
And that's still with 20 odd days left of the transfer window. So
Mm.
they could well go out and sign another really good striker, because I agree with you, I think goals will be a problem for them. But if they have, I mean, if this Andreas Cornelius does does well, then
I
he
mean,
could he theoretically he could become their Benteke. He could become their Michu, their sort of shrewd signing that turns out to be brilliant.
in terms of goals, in their defence, they did have a couple players on 8 goals um, each, and what 7. But even so, I still don't think 4 goals apiece from your two second best scorers, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
is that's still not going to be good enough. You need a man to get you 15 goals. I
Yeah,
mean, even 10 goals would be respectable.
I mean the other thing I would say is a really good thing in their favour is Fraser Campbell, who they obviously signed from Sunderland. Last season played 12 games and got 7 goals.
That's a very nice return. If what you say about that return is correct, I think you never know. Given enough games, he could be the man.
Mm.
Potentially, could be the man.
And he has obviously had Premier League experience with Sunderland, and I
Well, you
and I
somebody's
and I
somebody's got to play
believe
there.
and I believe also he was part of the Man United's youth system. So obviously, and also did well for Hull when they were in the Premier League. So he is a proven striker.
And so it'd be just interesting to see if he can do it now, because you know he
I
may
mean,
be the
I mean, he's a
he
decent
be the
age. He's
man with the pressure.
25, so he should be hitting his peak.
So that's going to be but the added pressure will be on him to get the goals if people look at that return.
But I would also say that Andreas Cornelius could take a bit of pressure off him. But I really don't really know enough about him, to be honest. But I mean, they signed Campbell for 650,000, and he got 7 goals in 12 games. I mean,
Uh,
that is a very that's
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's the steal, isn't it? Really.
and if that is the same with their summer signings, i.e., finding gems and picking up at cheap prices, then that could stand them in good stead.
Indeed, but see, the funny thing about football is it's not played on paper
It's
or on
not.
podcast, so we'll just have to wait and see, unfortunately.
So
But
where
where
do you think they'll finish? I think you were about to ask me
I
that.
was, but you got there first.
I did.
So I will say playing a reasonable style of football, hopefully nice passing football, as opposed to West Ham, who we will get to. Um, I'm going to say 15th.
I'm being a bit more generous than you. I'm going 13th.
Okay, which is where we finished last year. So, yeah, fair shout.
Because I think one of the promoted teams always do reasonably well,
But
and
I
I
think we both. Uh,
can't see that being Hull or Palace.
you're giving it away. I was going to say I think we both know where Hull and Palace will finish, but you know, I think I'm going to give you a little clue, Palace fans. I think you've got a similar problem to Cardiff, and I'm not sure, quite frankly, where your goals are coming from. If if your star man fails to ignite,
Yes, but we'll get on to Palace in a little
well,
while.
shortly I'd suspect, as we're going through the alphabet.
Indeed.
But that is it for Cardiff. If you've liked what you've heard, please feel free to check out the other clubs that we've got so far. Um, we hope to have everything up by Saturday kickoff.
And
So,
if you don't like what you've heard, please don't abuse us.
yes. So, if you've liked what you've heard, I've been Joe McKindo, he's been Tim Hiley. If you don't like it, he's been Simon Cow.
And he's been Justin Bieber.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go with that. Tweet them, tweet them.